She lived at the edge of a quiet town, in a small house where the windows always looked fog-kissed, as if morning itself liked to lean close and listen. The air around her home carried a constant scent of earth and rain, even on the driest days. Some said it was because her garden was always watered. Others said it was because she spoke to the sky. But those who truly knew her, the ones who had stood at her gate and felt their own shoulders loosen, called her the keeper. Not because she owned the garden or because she controlled it, but because she listened to it the way you listen to someone you love, the way you listen to a truth you forgot you knew. Every morning, before the sun rose, she walked barefoot through dew and silence. Her feet pressed softly into the soil like a promise. Her hands brushed petals still heavy with sleep, and she greeted each bloom like an old friend. To her, every flower was a prayer, every leaf a teacher, every thorn an honest reminder that beauty never asked life to be painless. Sometimes she'd pause near the jasmine vine and close her eyes, as if receiving a message in perfume. Sometimes she'd rest her palm against the trunk of the elder tree and whisper, "Thank you for staying." And the garden, in its own language of wind and hush, always answered. One morning, a man wandered down the path, a traveler, tired eyes, kind face, the kind of person who smiled politely, but whose soul looked like it had been carrying suitcases for years. He walked slowly, as if his body had arrived somewhere his spirit didn't trust yet. He stopped at her gate, unsure. The air around her garden shimmered, not in a magical, dramatic way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. Like sunlight itself had chosen to rest there. He cleared his throat softly. "Is this place open to anyone?" he asked. She looked up from where she knelt near a patch of wild flowers. A smudge of soil on her cheek, soft morning light in her hair. She smiled like she recognized him without ever having met. "It's open," she said, "to whoever needs to remember." Something in his chest loosened, not fully, but enough. He stepped inside. They didn't talk much at first. That was part of the garden's unspoken rules, so he simply joined her. He carried water in cans, helped guide vines along their trellises, and pulled weeds from the soil with careful fingers, like he was removing old thoughts from his own mind. And every time his hands touched the earth, he felt a quiet he hadn't known in years. Not emptiness, but a peace that didn't demand anything from him. At one point, he noticed something strange. His thoughts weren't screaming. They still came, memories, worries, but for the first time, they were just passing clouds. On the third morning, he spoke. Staring at a cluster of lavender, he admitted, "I've been searching everywhere for peace. Books, temples, oceans. And it's never stayed." The keeper didn't answer right away. Finally, she looked up. "Peace doesn't live in places," she said softly. "It lives in presence." He frowned gently. "Presence?" She wiped her hands on her apron, reached into a small pouch, and placed a tiny seed in his palm. "Plant it," she said. He knelt, dug a small hole, and placed it carefully inside. When he looked up, she said, "Now wait." He blinked. "Wait for what?" Her expression was tender. "Feel your breath," she whispered. "Feel the earth holding it. Feel the stillness that exists even under your noise." He listened, not with his ears, but with his body, with a nervous system that had forgotten safety could be this quiet. "That," she said, "is peace. It's been waiting for you all along." Days turned into a small eternity. They worked side by side. He told her about the weight he carried, regret, guilt, the endless noise of trying to be enough. And she didn't fix him. She didn't offer advice. She simply listened the way sunlight listens to leaves. And in that stillness, his soul began to breathe again. He started noticing how the garden didn't bloom all at once, how dead leaves meant nourishment, how even a broken branch still belonged. And slowly, he began to believe maybe he belonged too. One evening, watching fireflies dance like tiny lanterns, he said, "You make it look easy to be light." She smiled. It isn't easy. I just stopped fighting the dark. How? He asked. She pointed to the stars. They don't ask the night to go away, she said. They just shine through it. Something in him opened them like a door unlocking in a long-closed house. He realized the love he'd been searching for wasn't something to find, but something to allow. Like breath, like rain. When he left the next morning, he didn't take flowers or seeds. He took stillness, gratitude. At the gate, he hesitated, afraid of losing it. The keeper seemed to read his fear. You won't lose it, she said. Not if you remember to return not here, but within. And then he walked away, carrying the garden in his chest. Years later, when life grew loud again, he would close his eyes and see her there, kneeling in her garden, hands in the soil. He would hear her voice, soft as rain. Love isn't somewhere you go. It's something that grows wherever you stand if you let it. And every time he remembered that, the world became holy again. Not because it was perfect, but because he was finally present enough to see it.